Here we go. 20 through to 11. These are either, this first part of the top 20 games of all time and are fantastic, or they're the ones that just missed out on being the top 10 best games. You decide whether these are fantastic or should have been in the top 10, shouldn't even be in the 100. Let me know in the comment section below and let's jump into the list. At number 20, a game that was in my top 10 last time around, and this is Cartographers, falling 16 places, nearly even out of the top 20. It's still a fantastic game. This one's just maybe not got to the table as much, and it's probably suffered actually from something that's helped it in the short term, but in long term is the number of expansions this one has. I actually really like the variety you have with this one. I've got Cartographers and Cartographers Heroes. They are almost identical, but the decks are slightly different. One has heroes, one has like ruins, and the map's a little bit different. Throw in expansions where each time you maybe shove in a couple of different cards, and it certainly keeps the experience fresh, which is kept the game hitting the table, keeps hitting the table, and is a really solid flip and right game. I really like it whether it's at 2 or you're playing with many players around the table, because like with any flip and right, as long as people can see the cards in the middle, in this you can get away with just giving them a sheet and drawing on it. It's a very cool experience with these 4 objectives in the middle, and round 1 you will be scoring A and B, in round 2 B and C, and it sort of slowly goes until the last round where you are doing D and A again, which means there's sometimes you start out and it's like objective A is super important to you in round 1 because you want to get some points on the board, but that one's also going to be super important in the last round, so you can build up for that even in the rounds that you're not going to be scoring for it. And it's just a really cool one as you're putting these like polyomino shapes in different colours or different shading techniques, that sort of thing, onto your map as a cartographer. Just a great flip and right cartographer / Cartographers Heroes. They're almost identical. I think I've just put one on the list because it was the first in the collection. Azul is a new game to the list. Yes, it actually is. Previously, I'd said that I think my favourite was Azul Summer Pavilion. I still think that Azul and Summer Pavilion are almost neck and neck. I think the second one, the stained glass one, that dropped a little bit for me. Personally, I think the original Azul or Summer Pavilion are the best ones, and this time around Azul, the original, with all that charm and just that great choice of what am I taking and adding to my board, maybe screwing someone else over, leaving them with some tiles they can't use and getting massive negative points, all that sort of goodness. That's why the original is on the list. It's got these chunky, like, I think they're like plasticky, resiny sort of tiles, really shiny, really look great. The way you choose them from the middle is really cool. If they're on one of these worker disc things, factory discs I think maybe they're called, you can take all of one colour and everything else is slid into the middle. And then, it doesn't matter how much of them are in the middle, if you want to take from there you can, which means sometimes like the bottom row on your player board is you need 5 of one colour to move it across and score. Sometimes you can just grab 5 blues from the middle in one go, but if you do it first, you take a negative thing, but you'll be going first in the next round, and these choices build up, and it's a really cool sort of puzzle. There is some interaction with what you're taking to make sure the other players maybe don't have great choices, or something you think, oh, I wouldn't mind that coming back round the table, or still being there when it's back round the table to my turn again. I think it's a bit more cutthroat at like 2 players, because you can really be like, oh, you can't take any of them, they're going to score you a massive amount of negative points. I'm going to leave them all in the middle then, and just take these. Good luck, sort of thing. I think when you get like the 4 players, you do that slightly less. You have to focus a little bit more on what can I use rather than how to screw other people over. And I like both ends of that spectrum. I really like Azul. Next up is Cash and Guns, another one that also fell out of the top 10 from last time, but what an absolute banger of a game still. Now, this is one that if you don't mind pointing a foam gun at other people, you should be playing this because it's absolutely hilarious. You can definitely create board gaming memories from this one and sort of banter style rivalries, and you're always pointing your gun at me, sort of. And well, so I'm always going to aim at you, and then people around the table are like, I don't mind if they do that because then they're more likely to shoot each other, and then I get more of the loot. Because in this game, even though you're pointing your gun at someone, doesn't mean you're actually shooting them. You've got these bang and click cards. You've got 5 clicks. Even if you're aiming at someone, it doesn't do anything. And 3 bangs, I am actually shooting you this time. And if you get shot too much, you're eliminated. You can customize it where they just lose all their loot and carry on playing. If you don't like the elimination, normally it only happens towards the end of the round. It also means that if you have that elimination, people are scared. I've got 2 guns pointed at me and I've got 2 wounds, 1 more, and I'm eliminated from the game. So I'm just going to duck out of this sort of pistol off. And it's whoever is left in at the end of a round. Either they haven't ducked out or they haven't been shot. They split the loot going around the table from the middle. One person is even a godfather. Now this is a bit of loot that you can take to basically be the godfather for the next round. And it's got a power with it. Someone pointing at you, you can tell them to move. And they have to. They can point wherever they like as long as it's not you. It's just a little perk of being the godfather. But then maybe someone else takes it for the next round. Instead of taking that $5,000 diamond or that painting that builds up the more paintings you've got. It's a good fun one that's just a lot, it's a lot of fun around the table and it really does create cool memories. That is Cash and Guns. A slightly heavier one than Cash and Guns is Viticulture. Now Viticulture Essential Edition, most likely also the Tuscany Essential Edition content in there as well. What a fantastic worker placement game. I really like the way you build up in this one. You have the spring, summer, autumn, winter actions on the board. With Tuscany you add in extra things that you can be building that mean you are very different. Maybe you're scoring for something different, or you've got a special worker placement spot that no one else has. You are trying to grow these grapes over the year. They'll level over the years, each rounds, they'll level those grapes up so they sort of mature, getting you slightly better wines that you can then sell off. You can give tours to taste your wine that you've put in your just small cellar, because at the moment you haven't got the coins to upgrade it to a medium or a large cellar. You can build different things on your player board that are going to mean, oh, now I can actually plant this special type of grape. You're going to sell off fields, you're going to sell off grapes, wines, try and complete these orders, which means you've always got money coming in now. It's like an ongoing payment because you've managed to do that wine order. And it's just an absolute cracking worker placement game. Yes, there is luck from what you draw from the deck, but across a game you'll draw many cards from the decks. So, you know, from the summer workers deck or the autumn workers deck, you'll draw a load of them. So you might get some duds, but you'll also probably get some good cards from there as well. Just a really awesome worker placement game that's not the lightest. A brand new game to the list, and this is the Castles of Burgundy, in particular the special edition, the anniversary big fancy shiny version. Not the anniversary edition from a few years prior, which was a bit more colourful and I liked that gameplay, But now the special edition is in the collection, well, the other versions are royally booted off because this one just looks fantastic. Even if you're only using, and I mostly only use, the actual like castle pieces, the rest of the tiles I just use the acrylic tiles. I think they feel fantastic, they still add the vibrancy, and they don't take up as much time as swapping each tile out for its own mini. I have played a few games like that because I do have the miniatures, but I would not really advise getting them. Just get the fancy version, but with acrylic tiles. Those acrylic tiles are just so nice, be it when you're having to shuffle them up, use them, touch them, put them on your board. The acrylics are really nice. The general production quality of this one just makes it so much nicer to look at. And it's still got that absolute fantastic Castles of Burgundy gameplay of how am I using my dice, how am I maybe manipulating my dice to buy things from the different like market areas, am I selling these goods because that's gonna get me money, and all these different things. Like there's so many different angles you can go down, and it's also responding to what's in the middle, what tiles come out, and also what are my opponents taking? Like, oh, they've rushed all the way over there. They could build like their second mine. I haven't got one yet. Okay, I'm going to try and manipulate my dice via my workers up so I can grab that tile. That's stopping them getting that and getting maybe ahead on that part of it. But it's also meaning I can finally build my first mine and reacting to what's available and also what other people are doing. Just an absolutely great game that also looks lovely. And I know presentation and production shouldn't matter so much, but like with the original one, God, it was just so beige. It was really hard to ever convince people this is going to be fun. The newer one just looks so good. People want to try it, which has certainly helped it hit the table a few more times. Moving up 9 places, this one last time in the mid-20s is Catch the Moon. Now this is one of the best dexterity games. It is basically roll a dice and the dice will tell you, are you putting and balancing this ladder onto this construction of other ladders that are precariously balanced, and can it only touch one ladder? Does it touch 2 ladders? Or does it even maybe have to be the tallest thing on the structure? And you can booby trap this one. You can just slightly hang it off. You can just make it so anyone puts anything on this side and it's just going to tilt over and probably drop something. And if you cause something to fall off or it all to fall down, you take one of these water droplets, tear droplets, whatever you want to call them, and they are effectively negative marks against you. And you just keep going. And there's a twist with this one. If you're the final person, you are eliminated, which means to cause something to happen. So if there's one of those tokens left, if you take that, you're eliminated. Which means even if you're ahead of everyone else, there's still a sort of trepidation going into like the final rounds, because I'll win if anyone else causes it something to fall down. But if I do, even though I'm in the winning position, I'm going to be eliminated and lose. It's also, we've played this one so much, there's so many ladders included in the game that we actually have run out of ladders and had to create an extra rule for the balancing that is, if there are no more ladders, you have to take one off and add it back onto the structure based on your dice somewhere else. That's how much we've played this game that we've got that good at it. And it's just absolutely brilliant. That's Catch the Moon. Another brand new game to the list is Earth. Now, actually, since last time I made the list, I'd only just got Earth, I think, at that sort of time. Obviously, it's hit the table more, and I've even had a chance to review the Earth Abundance expansion, which was really a cool honour to be able to do that and get hands on so early. And, well, I think that's just helped it hit the table. Well, it definitely hit the table more when I was reviewing that, but it's hit the table more since. Not necessarily because it adds an extra player count. I don't think that part was necessary, but I really like the additions that added, these seed tokens that are you can use for little bursts of extra stuff at different times. But I also love the core Earth experience. I love that thing where I'm choosing one of these 4 actions. Everyone else around the table gets a lesser version of that. I'm planting 2 things. Everyone else can plant 1 thing. That sort of thing. I really like that because A, it means it goes around the table sometimes slowly, but it doesn't matter because you're still doing something on everyone else's turn. It just means you're always involved, you're always engaged, and there's no point in this game where you're like, oh, right, I've had my turn, it'll be a while, check my phone, that sort of thing. And also you are creating this cool tableau of extra abilities that trigger, oh, we're doing red, great, I now get to trigger all of these actions on my turn as well. I just really like Earth, and it's certainly not been hampered at all by the Abundance expansion. If you've watched this channel at all, you'll have seen 1 or 2 things about Pitch Car, be that some gameplay, be that me talking about it a number of times, be it on top 5, top 10 lists, or even my previous top 100 where it was in my top 10. It's not quite anymore, but it's still fantastic. It's one that will be coming out, as you can probably tell from the jumper if you're watching this in the future. It's about to be Christmas very soon, and it will be hitting the table over the Christmas period because it's one of those fantastic games that the whole family can play and enjoy, and it's a real level playing field. You're flicking these discs, these cars around. If it flips over, oh, you've crashed a little bit. Your next turn is just righting your car up the right way, and you're trying to bounce off some of these curves, like these barriers. Some curves don't. You're like, I'm not going to put a crash barrier there, which means you have to be really careful as you're flicking around it not to fly off, or basically you'll have to start from where you were again next turn. And you're just trying to get over these jumps, round these thin bits, round these corners, and get across the finish line first. There's even loops and crazy stuff that we have in the collection for it, and it's always so much fun when it hits the table. I can't wait to play Pitch Car again. Moving up 14 places, but not quite into the top 10, is 7 Wonders. This is my favourite drafting game, though slight but not slight spoilers. A couple of the games that are above it do have drafting elements potentially in them, but this is the top just drafting game in my opinion. Why? Because it's got everything you want. It's got the take one, pass one on drafting experience, where you are sometimes taking what is going to help you, sometimes going, I don't want my opponent to have this, and hate drafting that card away from them so they can't have it, because it would have scored them too many points. You couldn't allow that. It's got these great chains, certainly in the second edition, which is the one I've got, slightly nicer production, and slightly uses its icons to really obviously go, you've built this last round, this thing is actually free if you take it. Or maybe it's like, all right, you've got this wood and you've got this ore mine. They're the resources that I'm paying and I'm using to pay for this card, and you've got those ongoing resources. Sometimes you're building up military, so you're bashing down your opponents between rounds and grabbing victory points and then losing points between rounds. Sometimes you're going for science, which multiplies up massively its points if you can get enough of them, and that's where that hate drafting of they've got a few science, I don't think we should let them have many more. And there's loads of different ways that you're getting coins. Oh, I need to use this player's scrolls because I don't have any. I need to pay them some money to be able to use them. And you can only do that with your neighbours, which keeps it interesting. I just really, really love 7 Wonders. Like I say, I've got the second edition, which I think is slightly nicer, probably easier to get hold of, but you could probably, well, the original Seven Wonders game is fantastic, and you could probably pick it up secondhand really cheap compared to the newer, shinier version. Gameplay wise, it's basically unaffected. So I wouldn't say you have to get second edition, but it does look a little bit nicer, certainly with like those gold borders around the level 3 cards. And the last one that didn't quite hit into the top 10, although it did move up 3 spaces, is Ice Cool. And I always cheat with this one. This is Ice Cool 1 and 2. Not 1 or 2, 1 and 2. Because these are dexterity games where you undo the boxes, turn the boxes over, and that is where the gameplay happens. They've got doorways cut into them, so once you've put the boxes together, you are then actually being able to flick these plasticky penguin things round. You're trying to hit them through doorways, curve them, jump them over walls, and that sort of greatness, if you can manage it. And you're trying to collect these fish. Why 1 and 2 then? 1 and 2 are basically mirror images of each other in terms of boxes. So why would you want both? Because you can combine the two of them. They become bigger areas, that are bigger zones, bigger high schools, Ice Cool, that you are flicking round. And it means you can do different modes. In the original 1, or if you've just got 2, you are basically 3 against 1, flicking your penguins round and one person trying to bump into the other players to try and stop them. If you have both, though, you can put some of the boxes together in different combinations and do races, or you can do team modes a lot easier. And it's just so much fun with those 2 boxes. It's flicking good fun. And I definitely try and get it out on the table near Christmas. A bit like I said with Pitch Car, it's one that anyone can play and enjoy. It's a bit silly. You can do awful in it, and as long as you can laugh at yourself, you'll have a good time doing it. That's Ice Cool 1 and 2. And well, that wraps up this part of the list. That means there's only 10 games better than the 90 that I have now spoken about. So please join me in 3 days' time as I'll be going through my top 10 games of all time. And there's at least 1 brand new game in that 10. So please do come back for that. Like, subscribe, and all that sort of jazz. Send it to your friends and say these are some cool games that we should play. Let me know in the comment section below what game did you get shocked that was on the list. Let us know in the comment section below. And until next time, have a great day gaming.